Desmond Dickerson from Cognizant Center for the Future of Work. Thank you for joining me today at What's Next in Retail Tech. I'm looking forward to talking to you about my presentation after the virus. We'll be talking through some of the observations that are leading indicators for the future of work and the future of retail, and a few frameworks for how you can work through some of those challenges and the changes that you're bound to experience. Given the nature of my work, focusing on the future of your work, I thought it would be a good time to talk through how COVID-19 pandemic is changing everyone's work, specifically as it relates to retail. So over the past few years, really the past decade, we've been preaching the importance of digital transformations. That's been the way out of the woods, and for many over the past few months, it's been a lifeline. It's helped them to navigate an uncertain world and new changes and a more agile business environment. Now, events like this, they often drive innovation and unseat incumbents and really create winners and losers. So what we've experienced here throughout the pandemic, we've seen COVID-19 set our carefully planned rollouts and new services, new products, set it all ablaze. And there's been many challenges that we've all had to face and navigate together. Some have navigated those changes better than others, and some have generally thrived. So you've kind of got, which side were you on? Were you like Debenhams, or were you like, Aldo and some of these other brands that, filed for bankruptcy or had other, tremendous shortcomings during this time period? Or were you able to thrive, like a Shopify or like an Amazon, who are in this new business environment, are making continuous changes to better serve a new market and to take advantage of new market dynamics? So a few years back at the World Economic Forum, there was a speech from Justin Trudeau. He's the Prime Minister of Canada, and he said, "Change has never been this fast before, and it'll never be this slow ever again." So essentially what he's saying is that, we're kind of experiencing a little bit of future shock. Everything's coming at us really quickly, and that pace is only going to continue in the years ahead. So, what has transpired in the past 40 years of retail, we'll see more change than that in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, likely, with new technologies, AI, automation, augmented reality, all of these new and emerging business platforms. There's a ton of change that's going on. And change is difficult to navigate. So what we've done at Cognizant Center for the Future of Work, we put out a report called From and To. And this report is to help us and to help others navigate those changes. And we're looking at it through a few specific lenses, making a few specific observations. We're thinking about the tools of work and what's changing around those things. We're thinking about the aesthetics of work, how that's changing, how that's evolving. We're thinking about the issues with work. What are the new things that are emerging that we just didn't have to consider before? And then the meaning of work. How is that changing, and how is that creating more meaningful work environments? So with this framework, with this plan forward, I'll walk you through a few of our observations today. And we'll talk about how you can assess your business or your industry or the service that you're offering, and consider the new technologies and the new changes that are happening, and where you fit, where you fall in line within this new environment. So again, starting off with the tools of work. These are the apps, the systems, the processes, just all the things that are new that we didn't have access to before, that are changing the type of work that we do and the way that we do it. So these new tools of work, while they're growing in complexity and just technological prowess, the whole purpose of them is really to humanize the experience, whether that's the experience for our workers or for the folks that are coming in and shopping with us in places of commerce. So what we want to do is move from active technology to ambient technology. These are experiences where people can just walk through and it just works. They don't have to think about it. A good example is Hypervision. What they're doing is they're setting up, VR displays or augmented reality displays in retail sectors where people can see a visual 3D rendering or representation of some of the products they're looking at. So you'll see this example here of, a tennis shoe. Without having to pick it up, without having to touch it, without having to ask someone a question about it, as they're walking by, it's something that's gonna, catch their attention, and they can start to engage with the product and get an understanding of, what the offerings might be. So, using this visual technology and then combining it kind of with the ambient technology, we're able to serve up things that are, familiar, but also novel at the same time, and kind of drive and enhance that customer experience. So additionally, we're going to talk about the aesthetics of work. How does work feel? How does it sound? Even how does it smell? So what we've observed as a great example of that, of kind of working in some of these new technologies and new experiences, is augmented reality that's being augmented with the smell, not just seeing a product, but smelling it. So just imagine being able to pick your new scent, your new perfume or cologne without having to douse yourself with dozens of new products, or even step into the store. You can smell new candles or new foods and types of things like that, with technology, essentially. So Vasco is the company that's rolling this product out, something that we're observing and feels a little bit like science fiction now, but these are the types of changes, these are the types of inflection points that we all must be aware of, as they change the customer experience. Specifically here, when a lot of people make shopping decisions, we think of it as a logical decision. You see something, you pick it up, you might hold it and, kind of experience it. That's a logical experience of kind of thinking through what it is that you see. But when it comes to taste, when it comes to smell, these are sensations that activate more of a emotional connection. And that changes the way that we're able to engage with customers and change the status of commerce and how they're shopping. So this is, a technology that we're kind of keeping an eye on and seeing something that's emerging that could really upend exactly how we engage our customers in places of business or even in their homes, if these types of headsets are made available in that way. And next, we're going to talk about the issues with work. Work is such an important part of what we all do, whether it's a commercial space where people are shopping, or the back end where you're kind of getting the products ready. And issues continue to emerge with all of that. So one of the issues that we're experiencing right now is that of surveillance capitalism. So we've got technologies that can take your surveillance footage, your just cameras that you already have operating in your store, and you kind of attach them to new software and new algorithms that are able to analyze everything that is shown there. It'll show you, what are the hot spots in your store, where are people going, what are they avoiding, and it helps you to merchandise better, and sell more product and put your new and emerging product in places that people are going to see it. But the flip side of that, is the tracing and the tracking of customers and their experience and, identifiable information such as their face or how they dress or even how they walk. And there's new issues emerging with how can you be a proper steward of that? How can you, as a retailer, safeguard this data and use it in a way that's going to attract your customers and will make them want to continue shopping with you and not turn them off from your brand. So Prism Skylabs is an example of one of these technology providers that are kind of walking that line and growing in their understanding of what's appropriate and what's useful compared to what is going to turn customers off and repel them from your offerings. So we've continued to see, not just with Prism, but with contact tracing apps all over the globe, whether it's in China or Israel or Australia, there's kind of that tug of war between what's safe, what's keeping people safe, what governments are allowing, and what are people just like uncomfortable with, and what are the things that they want to put a stop to. So this is an issue that we think will continue to grow in importance and relevance in the near future as more and more things get digitized, more and more experience go the digital route. We can track them, but just because we can track something, does that mean we necessarily should? And if we do, how can we do it in a way that's useful for us and sensitive to those that are around us as well? And then finally, let's talk about the meaning of work. These are the things that get you up out of bed in the morning and make you excited to go in and go to work. These are the ways that we can lead change or just make a difference in the type of work that we do. And sometimes it's a matter of the work that we don't do. What we've seen thus far this year, as the pandemic has kind of rolled out and fits and starts in different places, is when people are traveling less for business due to lockdowns, or people are flying less or driving around less. It's lower emissions. Carbon monoxide is falling, and the air is cleaner. It's easier to breathe. That alone is saving lives. But how can we continue to have this type of meaningful impact in work as we move forward? As we go back to kind of business as normal or business as new normal, what are some of the emerging technologies or the emerging approaches that we could use that would help us to maintain that? So one example is RE. RE is an Israeli startup that's creating electric vehicles. So no emissions here. And what's different about these types of vehicles is that they're modular. They don't have to be made, to kind of a set compartmentalized way as normal cars are now. Essentially, it's a flat platform, almost like a skateboard, and just kind of rolls around autonomously, potentially. But it's a skateboard, and you can put anything on top. It's like, you can put a set of Legos on top that, one day it's a delivery truck, and then another day it's a food truck, and then another day it's a retail pop-up experience where people can come in and try on clothes, and you can bring the products, you can bring these experiences to people no matter where they are. So not only are electric vehicles producing an environment that's more sustainable, and allowing businesses to be, just more concerned and more conscious of their environment, it also is creating new, novel work experiences and retail experiences as well. So yet again, just another trend to continue to observe and understand how it's changing and how it's changing your business and your industry. So as we look at all of these observations to kind of put them together, just thinking about, what are some of kind of the through lines, what are some of the threads that tie it all together? And the key first one, I would say, is digitize. As you move forward, you want to make sure that you're digitizing, at a healthy clip. Make sure you're not falling behind your competitors and not falling behind what the expectations of your customers are. So digitizing, not just bringing things online, but doing so in a way that's creative, or doing so in a way that's more efficient than what you've experienced in the past, and ultimately just serving your customers. Which brings us to the second point. You want to humanize. In everything that you do, whatever technology that you're rolling out, it's not technology just for technology's sake. It's technology that enhances the human experience. Does it make something easier? Does it make something more desirable? Or does it allow you to just make a better connection with the customers that you look to serve, or even the people that are working for you or with you? And then the third element that you want to key in on is sanitize. That's of specific relevance right now as we are kind of battling the COVID-19 pandemic. But even as we go forward and think about, the hours that may be lost to a common cold, or, the office getting sick, everyone getting sick, thinking about how can you sanitize workplaces, how can you sanitize places of business to keep your customers healthy. And thinking also about the policies behind that. Specifically in the U.S. where I reside, there's not a lot of policies in place to keep, people from working when they're sick. So you want to make sure that you've got things in line that are incentivizing people to have healthy habits, and then that translates to a healthy business as well. So as we're thinking through all of these emerging technologies, we're thinking through, kind of all of these threads and through lines and the changes that need to happen. It can feel quite overwhelming. You can just think, well, what's next? What do I need to do? How can I predict how this is going to plan out, or how that's going to play out, or what's going to happen in this industry? Well, what we have found at the Center for the Future of Work is simply you can't. But that's okay. Your job isn't to predict the future, it's to prepare for the future. So one of the tools that we found particularly useful for that is scenario planning. Scenario planning is a tool set, and essentially what you're doing is you're looking at different areas of uncertainty for your business, or uncertainty for the services you're offering, or just the industry at large, or the economy at large. And what you want to do is create a grid. You're looking at two different facets of uncertainty, and then thinking about how they fit together. And from those levels of uncertainty, you're doing research on the social, the technological, the economic, kind of the people impacts, everything behind that. And then you're creating future scenarios that may exist, and that will help you to think through, what are the changes that you need to make right now so that you can be ready for this future. And it gives you kind of a broad scope of the things that might happen. So you don't have to hone in on one thing, but in preparing for multiple things, one of those things is likely to take place. And doing that type of preparation, doing this scenario planning, helps you to just move right into that. So today, we'll go through a few examples of scenario planning, a few of the scenarios that could be relevant for you, just to give you an example of how this works. So we'll look at 4 scenarios today. The first one, the clean regime. Imagine a future where everyone is obsessed with clean. Everyone wants to show off their latest, sanitary gloves or their face coverings or their face masks that are even being created now by, luxury brands. Maybe it's Fendi, maybe it's Prada, or even, something as simple as, going to H&M and having the latest, on-trend styles for your face mask. And beyond that, thinking about, how might public spaces be different? How might group spaces be different where people are working together? If everyone is obsessed with clean, what are the changes that you need to make with the buildings that people, work in, or the buildings where your customers are coming and shopping with you? How might you change your processes? How might you change the way that they're built to prepare for that? What are the challenges that you may face? Or what are some of the skill sets that you already have inherent to your company and to your workforce that would thrive in that type of environment? So just thinking through, the clean regime, how would that impact the way that you do business and how you think about your work? Scenario 2 is the death of privacy. So one way that we see that could happen as relates to COVID-19 is, new processes, new systems of contact tracing or, facial recognition scans as people are walking into stores to make sure that they're healthy, to make sure they're able to shop without infecting others, or maybe, workers, making sure they're not passing on any illnesses they may have onto others. So on the one hand, that's effective. That's healthy, that's safe, that makes people feel comfortable and want to come to your store. But the flip side of that is, maybe people don't want to be observed so closely, or maybe they're concerned about their data being shared or breached, and some of the concerns that may come with that. So how might your business, thrive in that environment, or what would be some of the threats that you would have to look out for? What are your data governance policies that would enable this to be done in the right way? And then, what are some of your, in-store experiences that can make sure that people are safe, but it's not overbearing in a way that turns people off? Our third scenario is welcome to Remotopia. In this particular scenario, everyone is committed to just staying at home a lot more. People are, building out their homes to now have home offices or spaces where they can relax, and, they're not as tied to going into stores or going to, unique experiences as they used to, as people continue to have concerns with, getting others sick or themselves getting sick as they go out. So what new technologies would you need to roll out, or would you need to be developing, or how would you maybe need to change your supply chain to focus more on e-commerce and less on the physical in-person sales? As of now, about 15% of all retail sales are done online. So there's obviously a ton of space for that to continue to grow. And if it got to a point where maybe that 15% went to 50%, how would that change your business? What new products would you be rolling out? How would you engage people in a new way? What marketing would you need to change? And how would you change kind of your physical footprint of the stores or fulfillment centers that you have now? And then our fourth and final scenario for today is the circular economy. So imagine a world in which everyone, is fed up with the damage that's been done to the planet. The customers, the citizens, and legislators are all committed to sustainable business practices and pushing through policies that will make this planet healthier. So what role might your business play in that? Maybe it's right now you're creating too much waste and you need to roll out systems, or you need to roll out new products that reduce that. Or maybe you're kind of building into this circular economy. So the products that you're putting forth, your customers are able to bring that right back to you and kind of use that as raw materials for new products, whether it's H&M and their system for what they're doing to kind of take old sweaters and re-knit them, or maybe it's IKEA and they're launching of a secondhand store to take in old furniture, repair it a little bit, and make it something unique and special that they're going to then roll out as one-off pieces. So how might you change maybe a whole business model like that, or just roll out new products and new services in a way that engages the public that cares more and more about sustainability? So even with a tool like scenario planning, making these changes, implementing these changes can be very difficult. And that's understandable. But a quote that I like to use is, we are called to be the architects of our future, not the victims of it. And the first step there is to just kind of take an active step, understanding and assessing, what is the environment in which you're operating and how is that changing going forward. If we don't kind of take these things and assess them head on, then we'll just continuously be at the whim of the future as it changes. So to help you navigate that, as you wrap up today's conference and maybe you're, talking to your colleagues or you're on to your next Zoom meeting, thinking about what the future of your work is, we've produced, a few pieces here lately that could be super helpful for that. So one is After the Virus, which was the inspiration for this presentation. It's a report that we put out thinking 5 years in advance. What are the changes that would have happened to navigate us through this moment and get us to a more thriving economy and a thriving landscape for business and commerce? Prior to that, we released the From and To report. And this is a report that helps you to answer those questions that you were too afraid to ask about the future of your work. So this and many more reports and videos and commentary are available at futureofwork.com. Additionally, you can email me directly or connect with me. I'd love to hear from you about any questions that you have on Twitter at Desmond CFOW. I'm happy to engage and talk through some of these concepts or anything else related to strategic foresight or the future of your business and the future of retail. Thanks again for joining me today. Look forward to hearing from you all and enjoy the rest of your experience.